Said Trump was white Obama. Now this is the real white Obama. You think JD Vance has the charisma for white people that Barack Obama had? Are you kidding me? JD Vance is nowhere near. Bro has zero riz, dude. His aura is out of control. It's really bad. That Holly, sadly, no, you guys are wrong, brother. You guys are liberals, okay? Or at least lib adjacent. You literally think that a guy with a neat little image like Josh Hawley is actually seen as like a real salt of the earth kind of guy by Republicans that want to see that kind of marketing. JD Vance is a TED Talk speaker, okay? Literally and figuratively. So is Josh Hawley. These guys are well spoken. They got elite education. They're liberals at their heart. JD Vance openly was a never Trump Republican and got the most play from MSNBC in that crowd. He has no fucking riz whatsoever. And I think his eyes low-key make him less trustworthy, I think. He looks like he's got eyeshadow. And I think that personally, like Donald Trump's reasoning for bringing JD Vance was maybe because he thought he could get the MSNBC watchers, like some of those more moderate but still very conservative voters, back on board with the ticket. Beyond the fact that he's also a money faucet. He is described as a money faucet for tech bro donors that are openly coming out as reactionary Republicans now.
Decades of betrayals inflicted by Joe Biden and the rest of the corrupt Washington insiders.
Vance grew up in poverty and the rest.
Depending on what level of right-winger you are on, some will get mad at him for miscegenation as well. But I don't think that he wins. I don't think that he is perceived as a positive figure in the Rust Belt. I don't. He's too much of a lib. His commentary, he's too green as a politician. He's only had 18 months in the Senate, and he hasn't actually figured out how to communicate his message in a way that like responds, in a way that like Ohioans respond positively to. Most people can see the resentment that he feels towards the Appalachian population, which is what his entire book was about, for the record. Beards equal untrustworthy in politics. That's also true, but you have to remember something. This dude looks so much worse without the beard. Holy shit.
Belt served in the Marine Corps and attended Yale Law School. While working as a venture capitalist, he rose to fame with his 2016 working class memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, a bestseller turned Ron Howard film.
You got to decide. You want to be.
He was an ugly ass child that was reflected well in this Netflix rendition as well. I almost want to rip this and just like watch it, pull the trigger and just do a watch party for this fucking thing on stream.
Somebody or not.
Vance repeatedly relying on that biography, especially as he tries to appeal to the Midwestern swing states that will decide this election.
I promise you this, I will be a vice president who never forgets where he came from.
And he leaned on his
Oh, this was awesome. I saw this moment. Donald Trump falling asleep during his son's speech and also falling asleep during the fucking JD Vance speech. That's awesome. That's perfect. Love that. I won't forget because I'm going to make it your problem that I hate you. Vance should have received the GI Bill from his time in the Marines, so his potential $200K school loan story is bullshit. Blaming Mexicans for your mom being on perks is crazy business. Yeah, especially when apparently there's more information on it because he wrote a fucking entire book so people know the truth. That his mom was a nurse and she basically stole prescribed medication from her patients. That's the craziest part about it. I mean, it's not shocking that he's just like lying. He's like, yeah, Mexicans brought over the fucking fent that my mom was addicted to is just like, what are you talking about? Oh my God, my shoulder is just twitching on its own. Let me see if I can show you. It was before, but I moved it now. I moved it around so it's not twitching anymore. Anyway, just watch JD's speech. I feel there's a genuine chance that someday we look back at his career and recognize he was a once-in-a-generation political talent. His intelligence is that high. His fear of confrontation is that low. His presence is palpable. His speaking ability is that natural. His instincts are keen. His story is that inspirational. Yeah. Speaking of which, another striker banger. Speaking of which, this is the guy. This is the political demon.
Are you a racist? Do you hate Mexicans? The media calls us racist for wanting to build Trump's wall. They censor us, but it doesn't change the truth. Joe Biden's open border is killing Ohioans. With more illegal drugs.
I like this argument because it's like, no, racism is actually saving America. Like, he just presents this narrative, which is obviously based on a falsehood. But at this point, might as well treat it like it's the fucking truth because, you know, it just enough people believe it. Because one side keeps lying about it and the other side's not doing a good enough job of like showing what the truth actually is. Even though it's like right there. Even though it's right there, dude. Easy to find. You know what I mean?
Drugs and more Democrat voters pouring into this country. This issue is personal. I nearly lost my mother to the poison coming across our border. No child should grow up an orphan.
You understand? Like, the narrative that he's presenting is built on a falsehood. Immigrants are trafficking drugs over the border is just an abject lie. It's just not true. Okay? His mother also did not get drugs from Mexicans. Okay? His mother, as we now know, stole the drugs as a nurse from her fucking patients. Now, and also immigrants are not voting. That's also another lie. Having said that, however, even if this was correct, there's something so funny about the idea that like being racist is going to solve this problem. It's like when Republicans during COVID would be like, COVID is fake. Okay. It's not real. It's a lie, but also it is real. And China is a Chinese bioweapon. And you have to call it Kung Flu or the Wuhan flu and act like Asians are responsible for it in order to deal with it. It's like, how are we, your solution is just like yelling at a random Chinese person who happens to be Vietnamese, but you thought that they were Chinese. That's how we're fixing the COVID issue, which is simultaneously fake and also real when I feel like it, when it suits my argument. Like, yeah, Mexicans are trafficking fentanyl and giving it directly to my mommy. And also the only way to solve this issue is by being racist. Got it. Good argument. Thanks, man.
I'm JD Vance, and I approve this message because whenever they call us, we will put America first.
Cool. Good stuff. Good stuff from JD. Generational talent. So much charisma. He should be blaming the Sacklers, not brown people. Yeah, except that's going to be quite hard for him considering that Ohio Republicans have weighed in on transgender care, abortion, but also insulin health care for immigrants. Hold on. Let me find JD Vance is like compromised on that front as well. JD Vance has a big pharma problem. If that's shocking to you, you know, the U.S. Senate candidate who founded an anti-opioid nonprofit has several close ties to Purdue Pharma. So the hilarity of the situation, the irony of the situation is that like the American pharmaceutical corporation directly responsible for the entirety of the Rust Belt being deeply addicted to opioids, which he loves talking about, okay? Well, he got money from them. The apparent contradiction, first reported by Politico, stems from vulnerability analysis posted online by Protect Ohio Values, the super PAC through which Vance has raised millions of dollars for his Senate campaign. Because campaign finance law bars any candidates from communicating with their associated super PACs, POV appears to have posted a trove of polling data, strategic documents, and opposition research on a low-profile Medium account for Vance to reference, detailing potential weak spots in his competitors' campaigns as well as his own. Vance's vulnerability analysis reveals that the lawyer turned author who founded a nonprofit dedicated to curbing the opioid epidemic, had at one point worked for law firm Sidley Austin LLP in Washington, D.C. During Vance's time there, the firm's lobbying arm was working on behalf of Purdue Pharma, which pleaded guilty in 2020 to criminal charges and faced penalties of roughly $8.3 billion. During that time, Sidley Austin also reportedly represented a Chinese real estate company and lobbied Alibaba Group, a massive Chinese e-commerce platform. But as Senate candidate, Vance has repeatedly called for the U.S. to sever economic ties with the country, calling globalization a gravy train for China. The Associated Press then reported this week that Vance's charity suffered a major conflict of interest when it recruited an AEI resident who never disclosed Purdue's financial contributions to AEI, while favorably citing Purdue-funded studies to argue that prescription painkillers played a significant role in the region's drastic uptick in opioid addiction. According to the Associated Press, Dr. Sally Sadel occasionally shared drafts of the pieces with Purdue officials in advance, and as ProPublica reported in the past, AEI, American Enterprise Institute, by the way, not DEI. American Enterprise Institute is a think tank comprised of demons, some of the worst, received financial support from Purdue totaling $800,000. Vance's past work may prove a problem in other areas beside Big Pharma. He was with Sidley Austin while the firm filed an amicus brief in support of gay marriage back in 2015, while the Supreme Court ruling on Obergefell v. Hodges. Since then, Vance has taken countless swipes at the LGBTQ community. New information also came out that J.D. Vance was literally best friends with someone from Yale. Him and his wife were best friends with a trans person from Yale from their own class that they actually were incredibly supportive of in their private life. However, in public correspondence, of course, J.D. Vance is constantly ripping on trans people nonstop. They brought their friend treats after their top surgery. Okay, that was like as far as hold on. I think Aaron had a didn't Aaron have a tweet on this, I think. Yeah, his Venmo came out as well. We're going to be analyzing that too. J.D. Vance's trans ex-friend is confused by his hateful words and sudden pro-Trump beliefs. J.D. Vance has a long storied history of anti-LGBTQ beliefs, but his former classmates at Yale University say it wasn't always this way. Donald Trump's official running mate for November presidential election didn't previously hold such extreme views. I wonder where they came from. He also called Trump Hitler, guys. He is a classic politician. Nelson recently revealed to the New York Times that they've been friends with Vance while they each attended Yale, and that the latter had even been supportive of their transition. Nelson recalled a time shortly after they had undergone top surgery in which Vance brought them home-baked treats as a recovery gift. However, as the years passed and their friend group entered their professions, Nelson noted a stark shift in Vance's beliefs. Their friendship ended in 2021 when the politician voiced a support for a bill in Arkansas banning gender-affirming care for minors. It hurt my feelings when he started to say hateful things about trans people, Nelson told the Times. Oh, here, by the way, he's a bitch who switched up. Don't know whether to cry or laugh. Apparently, one of the reasons Vance radicalized and went from moderate never-Trumper to insane MAGA-Trumper is because the Netflix movie of his book got panned by liberal movie critics. It was the last straw, according to a friend. I don't think that was the last straw. I think ultimately he was getting a lot of good press from liberal elites. I think he personally saw that this was the Trump party and that he wanted to move in a political fashion to be Peter Thiel's blood boy and his guy inside the room. Because remember, J.D. Vance is Peter Thiel's blood boy. Okay? J.D. Vance is Peter Thiel's guy. Him and Blake Masters were the two candidates of Peter Thiel, dumped a lot of money into their congressional races. J.D. Vance won by, a much slimmer margin than Donald Trump. In his respective state, Blake Masters lost because Blake Masters' vibes were absolutely atrocious. So I think that's the real reason why he, made this heel turn. He wanted to win. But here is a pivotal moment, I guess, in his Yeah, Vance garnered more support from Thiel during his Senate run in 2022, receiving record-breaking donations, about $15 million from Thiel, which marked the largest amount of money donated to a single Senate candidate ever. When the Hillbilly Elegy movie came out on Netflix in 2020, it was not just critically panned, but greeted with intense online mockery, and the tenuous cultural diplomacy achieved by the book seemed to unravel for good. Rotten Tomatoes audience score 83%, critics score 25%. According to Vance's best friend from Yale, Jamil Giovanni, the wounding commentary was the last straw in his falling out with the elites. I think this is a fun little narrative, but I don't think it's the reason why he did this. J.D. Vance is a political opportunist, and I think he's also too green to shelter
Grindr is experiencing
his obvious political opportunism. Okay? He is too new to be able to hide the truth. Wait, is this the... Can you explain Blood Boy? Peter Thiel is an evil villain, gay libertarian who owns a company called Palantir, which is a surveillance technology that uses artificial intelligence that has defense contracts and is terrifying. He's a Silicon Valley tech CEO who is a psychopathic libertarian. I mean, he's legitimately a scary dude. He allegedly his boyfriend a couple of years ago died under suspicious circumstances. This is Peter Thiel's kept romantic partner who died under mysterious circumstances. That's all I'm going to say about it. I'm terrified of Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel also openly had blood boys, as in young nubile men who he would get blood transfusions from, like blood doping. That is not a joke. I know it sounds insane. Okay? I know. This is the only time where I can use the word nubile, so I'm going to use it. That is a literal, real thing. Sounds pretty blue and on to me. What? Peter Thiel also successfully took down Gawker for the crime of outing him as a gay man. Gawker outed Peter Thiel because of all of his like right-wing support for homophobic politicians. Gawker went and found that he was actually openly gay in secret, I guess in the closet, not even in the closet, but like he was a gay man. Gawker outed him for it. And then Peter Thiel spent years waiting for the perfect opportunity to take down Gawker, which he successfully did when he found the Hulk Hogan lawsuit. He funded the Hulk Hogan lawsuit against Gawker and put them under such deep financial trouble that they had to shutter their doors. Very vindictive man. Terrifying person. I would say, I mean, I have all the smoke for Elon Musk. I think Elon Musk is a nasty little freak himself. But if there's one guy in the billionaire circle that I'm genuinely afraid of, it's Peter Thiel. Wasn't Gawker also a pretty awful institution? Where did you are not a billionaire with secrets. You are a regular old person. For you should love Gawker. You should love this kind of investigative reporting that they engaged in. Yes, they were dramatic. They had a penchant for drama. But no, it was great. Peter Thiel is a very high IQ individual. Yeah, okay. Some of Pete's like good old fashioned insane opinions. I mean, this is an 8-minute TikTok, bro. Like, that's crazy. But I will tell you some of his libertarian opinions. He wants to, he, for example, is the type of dude who like wants to have a Micronesia style island nation outside of the purview of any kind of international Rutgers frat bros call Yale grad low IQ. If you personally put a lot of emphasis and a lot of weight on what fucking elite institution someone graduated from, you are probably kind of stupid. I wouldn't say low IQ. I don't really place a lot of emphasis on IQ that much, but you're kind of stupid. George W. Bush graduated from Yale. Do you consider George W. Bush to be an intelligent person? You graduating from an elite institution simply just means you had, parents that graduated from there, or you had enough money.
My name is John Summers.
Oh my God, David Graeber went up against Peter Thiel personally? That's crazy. I did not know that this is a thing that happened. Isn't Peter Thiel the exact kind of person conservatives should hate? Yes, but they don't because he funds the Republican Party. Yeah, Peter Thiel is basically a fucking James Bond villain. Anyway, JD Vance, however, is not exactly super smart and very compromised in general. JD Vance was in a group chat with a bunch of teenagers where he would routinely shoot the shit with them, like groypers and wonks and people who just like are really invested in politics. And he would personally just, he would go in there, check in on them, talk to them. Very weird stuff. Okay? So there's that. As far as opposition research goes, he is very compromised on that front. Beyond that, he apparently had his Venmo account public, and it shows close ties to many on the far right, including the people behind Project 2025. Senator J.D. Vance's public Venmo account shines a light on the many corners of the Republican vice presidential nominee's inner circle, illuminating his long-standing ties with right-wing fascist, shadowy elites, and federal employees, according to the new report from Wired. It's worth noting that when setting up a Venmo account, the app offers the users the opportunity to sync up their phone contacts. Venmo taking down Republican candidates for vice president. And also just like Republicans across the board is pretty funny. Matt Gaetz, famously, prominent Venmo user. Still, the list presents a trove of powerful right-wing voices and some surprising names, too, who could be splitting meals and trips with the Ohio Republican. Among the 200 accounts listed on Vance's Venmo friends list is Amelia Halikius, the government relations director of the Heritage Foundation, the conservative think tank behind Project 2025. Donald Trump and Paul Dans, the project leader, have attempted to create the illusion that the former president is not affiliated with the fascist plan to oust civil servants and replace them with Trump sycophants, but they can't outrun all of the evidence demonstrating that Trump had his hands all over the project. Yeah, it's also the Heritage Foundation. Donald Trump saying he does not have any associations with the Heritage Foundation is like me saying I don't serve 3-minute ad breaks at the top of the hour. That's all I fucking do. Okay? The Heritage Foundation is an institution that drives Republican policy. It's a policy think tank that is very prominent. Donald Trump's own personal agenda items that he brought forward are damn near identical to the Heritage Foundation. So it's ridiculous for him to say that. Just like it's ridiculous for you to think that you won't see a 3-minute ad break unless you subscribe for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. Because at the top of the hour, there is still a 3-minute ad break. Okay? You can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here's a 3-minute ad break now. Yeah, they write legislation that Congress members don't even read. Exactly. It's ridiculous. Despite all that posturing, Vance has had long-standing public links to the Heritage Foundation. The group's president even said he had been rooting for Vance to get the VP nom. Halikius gave a nod to Vance on Monday, retweeting Elon Musk's comment of Trump's excellent pick of a running mate. Atomic Truth, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Also present on Vance's friend list is Gladden Papin, a conservative political theorist who serves as the president of the Hungarian Institute of International Affairs. Papin is part of the same new right vanguard as Vance, which has turned to Hungary's authoritarian populist regime and inspiration on how to install Christian nationalist policies nationwide. Perhaps they will also have allegiances to China in the same way that Viktor Orban has had. Papin also co-founded an online publication called the Journal of American Greatness, which attempted to make scholarly arguments out of Trump's talking points, but shut down before the 2016 election. Alongside collaborator Julius Krein, Papin later co-founded American Affairs, a Trumpist magazine that still exists. A bit flippant, thank you for the 5 gifted. Cigarette Overlord, thank you for the 5 gifted. Yeah. The 7 thinkers are groups that have shaped J.D. Vance's unusual worldview. His worldview is not unusual, in my opinion, by the way. It's just like a technocratic approach to Donald Trump's right-wing populist mania. A Yale alum, Vance has previously criticized elite universities' expensive daycare centers for coddled children. There's plenty of connections with many attorneys from the expensive lawsuits, including, predictably, his alma mater. Several of these lawyers are employed by the Department of Justice and would therefore be considered Trump's so-called deep state enemies. Of course, that's also a fucking lie. Vance also had links to outright Trump critics such as former Arizona Governor Jeff Flake and Lanny Davis, Michael Cohen's former lawyer. Davis denied being Vance's friend on Venmo. Others on Vance's list include intellectual dark web doyen. What does this word mean? I've never heard this word before. Barry Weiss, hapless conservative news pundit Tucker Carlson, as well as lobbyists from conservative think tanks such as the Hoover Institution and the American Enterprise Institute. None of these people responded to Wired's request for comment. What you guys need to realize is that Vance is influenceable, wrote Andrew Torba, a right-wing the freak social media CEO who has promoted anti-Semitic content in a post on X. We have plenty of people in his orbit. Plenty of our guys can be put into positions of power because he's there. Our focus should be on pulling him as far right as possible by 2028. Long game, honey, not vinegar. Andrew Torba is the CEO of Gab, by the way, a absolute psychopath. But he is right. He is right in this instance. He does have a lot of groypers in his orbit. JD Vance does. Project 2025 isn't even Trump's policy. What are we talking about, man?
Not kidding.
To celebrating his mother, now nearly 10 years sober.
I love you, Mom.
And embracing his wife, Usha, a lawyer and fellow Yale graduate.
That JD and I could meet at all, let alone fall in love and marry, is a testament to this great country.
Formerly a staunch opponent of Trump, Vance even once suggested his running mate was America's Hitler.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him.
I think that he's leading people in a very dark direction.
But the senator...
Oh, God, I can't stand this. I can't stand look at this motherfucker without the beard, dude. Holy shit, he looks so much worse without the beard.
Has been adamant that Trump's first term in office changed his mind, now adopting his positions on everything from foreign policy, especially the war in Ukraine.
We will make sure our allies share in the burden of securing world peace. No more free rides for nations that betray the generosity of the American taxpayer.
To immigration amid calls in the convention hall to send them back.
Here, yeah. Trump administration embraces Heritage Foundation policy recommendations. January 23rd, 2018.